what I have really tried to do is to allow the people that I've got to expose their own personalities when it comes to sales and talking with people and conversing. The way that I've found the most success working with people is that, I mean, we're just going to converse with them how they want to be talked to. And that's not for us to decide how that's going to go.
On today's episode, Courtney and I sit down with insurance agent Walker Kesterson, and he talks us what the last 10 months of his new business owner career looks like starting an agency. Is reality meeting the expectation he originally had? And the one piece of advice that he would give himself that we believe every business owner needs to hear. With that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your host, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and we have a very special guest with us today, Walker Kesterson. Walker, what's going on, my man?
Nothing. Just enjoying a beautiful Missouri day, whatever that looks like. How are you all doing today?
Beautiful Missouri day in the spring, so it could be 80 degrees, it could be 30 and snowing. So what is it today?
It is 75, I think. It's lovely out there, so I may...
Let's go.
It is the show me stage.
All right.
She's showing off today. I love it.
It's probably going to be snowing by Wednesday or Thursday. So
That's right. 4 seasons in a week.
I think I think the weather is honestly like your first year of agency. You just don't know what to expect every single day. It's like, you know what? If you really want to know what your first year of agency is like, just move to the Midwest. It's gonna keep you on your toes. So Walker, I love that we start off with this Missouri reference and the weather and how unpredictable it is, because you are 10 months in to your agency career.
Yep,
is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, I would love to start with, is it what you were expecting?
So I would have to say no, probably in a lot of ways. So I didn't come from, like, a lot of the people in our internship class and just a lot of the agents that I spend time with came from more of an agency background. They were all internal hires. A lot of the really good agents that I work with and kind of talk to now kind of live in that space where they were familiar with State Farm, familiar with just the insurance industry. I came from more of a finance background, which doesn't translate as much to insurance as I probably thought it would initially. We were used to dealing with 100 clients, and now you deal with hundreds and hundreds and into the thousands of clients, and so you're not developing the relationships in the same way probably as I would have anticipated. But all in all, I think it's still you just kind of have to be willing to learn on a day-to-day basis because it just changes so fast.
Yeah, so speaking of learning, you're 10 months into your business ownership career. What would you say has been one of the biggest learning lessons that you've learned along the way that maybe was a struggle, that maybe a new agent getting into the business today, you're like, man, if you could just not go through this struggle, it will save you a ton of time? So
it's kind of my answer to that would probably be two-sided, because I think I personally am very involved in a lot of stuff. In terms of in the business, like when I leave work, it doesn't ever shut off, and I'm sure there are, you all kind of looking at you right now, I'd say that it operates the same way, and so taking it home, and my wife actually works for State Farm too. She was a team member before. She ended up getting a role within corporate. She works with new agents and some training stuff. So I just kind of come home and speak with her about a lot of stuff. But it's just that you get so involved in everything that's going on. And again, coming from that kind of that finance side, like I never thought that the PNC would be that important. And then you get in and you're the one that's quoting PNC a lot of the time. And so I would say the biggest struggle has just been that I'm so involved with everything now. And then just going home and really kind of continuing that and just wanting to talk about it all the time. Just trying to distance myself a little bit is difficult for sure.
Okay, so before we hit record, we were talking about this a little bit. I would love to know, just to set some expectations, what your days were like when you first got started in agency.
So I would say you get up the pretty standard 5:30 or 6, kind of get ready. You get into the office by 7. A lot of the time there's a system issue or there's something that that you have to go in and look at and identify, whether it be, a policy is in the wrong spot, or maybe it's in an agent code that's not yours. I mean, some little things that just kind of day to day work, and then you're kind of going into what's the team going to do today? What are we going to do? What's the goal for the day? And so I think now, being 10 months in, and hopefully in another year or two, I'll have an even better outlook on this. But it's more of, what are we looking to accomplish now? For the day, for the week, for the month. I feel like we can set stuff out more than 30 minutes or an hour, like I was trying to do in the first couple weeks, couple months. We're kind of starting to figure out just what a normal process looks like, whether it be following up with a lead. You just kind of start to figure out that everything is not so, this needs to be done in the next 15 minutes. We can actually work on this over a period of time, in a set manner.
Yeah. No, that's good. And the problem, or not problem, but the thing that you said earlier about taking it home, I think that we went through seasons of life, depending on where you're at in the business, to where you do take it home, and that's all you talk about, which is a good and a bad, I think, because with a spouse, it's good to have them on board. We've been lucky that we've been able to run every business together, so we've been very relatable. But I'd be curious, with your spouse not being in the day-to-day activity, has that been a conversation at hand where we're like, we have to have some type of shut-off time to where we no longer talk about the business? Or is it like, hey, tell me everything that's going on because I want to be in this with you. I want to understand your struggles, your stress. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I would say, and we may be unique in the fact that I'm just kind of sporadic in the way that I talk about it. It's like, I may get home and she may say, how was the day? May say fine and may move on, and then it's 9:45 and we're finishing up a show on Netflix or something, and the next thing you know, I'm talking about just anything that could have happened at the office, whether it be something that was said. Just some of an intricacy that happened kind of throughout the day, and so I think it's more, she just kind of allows me to say it at the time and the place in which I'm ready. Typically, you can tell if an insurance agent is unhappy about something, because it's like the first thing that they were to ever. It's like a life and death thing, but it's just kind of sporadic, and so there really hasn't been a guideline that's set. She always listens whenever I have something that I want to talk about, but sometimes I can just tell it's like, maybe this isn't the time and place, but man, it's just the only thing that I can think about right now. So. Just the game a little bit, for sure.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I'm laughing because I understand this so deeply, and there'll be points where he'll bring something up and he'll go, I'm sorry, I know I'm talking about work too much. And I think you really do have to read, if your partner is available, your spouse, whatever that looks like, if they're available for information. I'd be curious, though, when you come home, is there a particular problem that you've been having recently that you feel the need to be talking through?
So, it's typically rate related, I would say. I think sometimes the frustration that I've seen, really for myself, probably more than anything, is that a lot of the time it's not our office. It's never our office that controls the rate. The company, in our case, State Farm, is the one that controls the rate. And a lot of time people just don't see it that way. And so that's probably of the more just common thing that, and it's really, if you were to ask Jenna, it would probably be the exact same thing every time that she would say that I'm talking about. Because it's, you can insert any name, any situation. It comes down to the same thing. But I think not being in the insurance background, and even though my father did it for years beforehand, and I heard him complain about the same things, it's just until you're actually in the situation, you never fully recognize what's going on. But that's probably the main one I would say right now, is just if we're taking rate, or if somebody's bill goes up, they kind of, sometimes the agent is the one that takes the call, and that's when you sign up, that's what it is. But occasionally that can just be a little difficult to hear, I'd say.
It does get better with time. It does get better with time to where you don't have to take those calls necessarily. But here's the thing, though. Like, if if you've built a lot of really good relationships with customers and it's a quick 2 minute, 3 minute just showing empathy, explaining, now eventually you'll be able to hand that off. But retention, I think, sometimes goes overlooked in an agent's book of business, and it is way easier to keep clients than it is to attain new clients. And so I love that you're doing that. I love that you're having those conversations. Rates, unfortunately, are just one of those things that you can't control. So it's like I get it. It's a pain point. It's a complaint, but it's a complaint that you just can't control. And the one thing I'm curious, because we haven't talked about this yet, is what does your current team dynamic look like as an agent that's 10 months into the business?
So taking over from my dad, I got pretty lucky. He had a lady that had been there for 8 years. And so she'd been with State Farm for 12 or 15 years total, I think, and is fantastic. She's kind of it almost seems like every good agency, all of the really good agents that I've been around kind of has that one almost Swiss Army knife type of employee who can just can talk people off the ledge, can quote, can write business, knows everything about the products. And so she has been just a fantastic kind of rock. And then I have a guy that I play golf with growing up who really wasn't, we weren't that good of friends, but he belonged to a golf course that I played to a decent amount of time. And so we were somewhat familiar with each other in the past couple of years, and he'd been working for the state of Missouri and just wasn't having a great time what he was doing. And as the opportunity came up, he's like, "Hey, I'm just looking for a job." No sales experience whatsoever, but actually he has been a fantastic sales guy and really has done just a great job kind of coming into a brand new industry and really just taking the punches, especially when you're kind of calling people who occasionally are caught off guard as you're working leads and everything else. So he's done a great job there. And then I've got a guy that was a team member for a different insurance company for 5 years beforehand, and he is primarily just kind of a front office service. He'll do kind of some upsells and coverage. He'll talk to people about things that might be missing and just, we call them kind of lapses in coverage that maybe they've got. So he kind of does that. And at this point, that's kind of the main three. And then I've got a guy who's a teacher who does some sales stuff in the summer. At least he did last year, and I would say he'll likely continue that this year. And then I've got my father who is he says he's of counsel. That's probably the best way to describe him. We don't really know what he does when he has a house in Gulf Shores as well. And so when he's down there, he logs on from 7 to 8 pretty much every day. Not sure what it is he's doing. And then when he's here, he's in the office for 5 or 6 hours a day, and he's kind of comedic relief. People come in and they enjoy talking to him, and he kind of, it's nice to continue the trend. It's like, hey, we've had this guy for 25, 30 years. He's great to have around, and if something happens with a certain client, it's like, hey, what's going on here? And he's like, oh yeah, that person does this, and that's a usual behavior and things like that. So he's fantastic to have around, but he's something else. So 3 full-time.
Your dad's the personality hire.
Seriously,
it's all good.
And he says I can't afford him either, so that's the other thing that he always brings to the table. But no, he's great to have around and just knows everything about, everything really. He's been doing it for so long that having that resource there and just people knowing him, to come in as a new agent and have that, I know a lot of people would beg to have that. So yeah, but he's something else. He really keeps when he's in town, the office is much louder. There's a lot more going on.
Okay, so with this team and then your personality hire / dad, what do you think that you have done the best at driving production through the team? What do you think has been like the thing that has worked the best?
So my field development agent, and for those that don't know State Farm, when we go into internship, we go through and they give us a month where we work with another agent. And so the agent that I worked with there, he was very, everything they did was very cut and dry. They had a process for every single thing down to word tracks and everything else, which I really liked and thought was good. And then I kind of got in and I just tweaked it a little bit. I made it what I felt like was a little bit less robotic. And the guy produces more than I do, so it's not to say that what they're doing is not fantastic by any stretch of the imagination. But I think what I have really tried to do is to allow these, I mean, the people that I've got to expose their own personalities when it comes to, I mean, sales and talking with people and conversing. I try to keep them kind of away from scripts in a lot of ways. That's just the way that I've found the most success working with people is that, I mean, we're just going to converse with them how they want to be talked to. And some people want the transactional side. Some people want to sit there and have a 45-minute conversation about, I mean, their dog or, I mean, cat, animal, house, whatever it is. And I mean, that's not for us to decide how that's going to go. And so my main goal has really been just to work through that. I mean, allow the team to shine in the way that they best can. And then in the things that I mean, we talk a lot, we go through what's working and what's not. And so we kind of try to figure out what pieces of it we're missing and just make adjustments and changes from there.
So with that, with mirroring the customer, if you have a customer that's transactional or if you have a customer that wants to spend 45 minutes, do you have a standardized quoting process or is that shifting based on the
So we do.
customer too?
A lot of the time, the conversations just work through the quoting process. And so if somebody's on the phone and you can tell that that they're at work and they're busy, they're kind of going through just the day to day. Maybe they're shopping it, and maybe it's a referral, whatever it is. If getting the quote out quickly is what they want, a lot of the time we'll still try to work through really just making sure that coverage is matching and everything else. Because for the most part, when people are shopping their insurance, they don't know if it takes 2 minutes or 30. And so it's trying to match it in a lot of ways. But at the same time, we just want to make sure that they're covered in the best ways. And that, I mean, we can run through State Farm just has so many different products that they offer. And so just trying to make sure they understand that we're not just, I mean, I know the commercials, other than all the different things State Farm does on the commercials, but at the end of the day, it's property and casualty that typically people come for. But they don't realize that there are other things that these companies can offer and that we can offer that we're licensed to do and that we're licensed to talk about. And so our goal is just to give them as broad as a situation as possible, really give them the option to choose really what they want, and then it really, by person, we're still trying to get through the same stuff, but just trying to make sure that we converse in the way that they want to.
Yeah, I have a theory. No one has time for insurance and everybody wants the cheapest rate. Right? So it's interesting. And the benefits about being a smaller agent just getting started is you have the flexibility in some of this stuff. You're going to learn it. And I love that you do have somewhat of a standardized quoting process. And what I'll find, or what I believe you'll find throughout your tenure, is as you start to grow your agency with more people, is you'll have to have some type of a standard script, word track, whatever. I also, even though I'm in the industry I'm in, I do believe you have to have scripts. I believe you have to have word tracks. But at the end of the day, I believe that you as a sales professional have to own that script or word track with your own verbiage, your own personality. But it'll be interesting if we talk in 2 or 3 years and you have a sales staff of 5 people or 10 people, what has changed between 10 months in and 2 or 3 years in. But having that standardized quoting kind of talk track is what I consider very important in being able to have educational conversations with customers to where they actually understand. Because the other thing that you found that I've found is customers just don't value insurance because they don't know what insurance actually does for them. And so if you can take control of the conversation to where they're not transactional, even though, again, everyone wants transactional or they think they do. When we actually start having meaningful conversations, kind of like what you're talking about with some of the relationship builders, that's when things get really good, in my opinion, from what I've seen.
Yeah, and I think just when I'm listening to this, it's really having something that I can reference for data.
Yep.
Being able to track if somebody's not closing like you want them to close, if everyone's doing something different, which is why I asked, and it sounds like you're all doing the same thing. But if everyone's doing something different, it's hard to have a system to say, well, this person needs to work on their elevator pitch. This person isn't comfortable overcoming objections. This person is only selling based off of price, and apples to apples is never going to get you what you want.
Yep.
So I think having all of those processes in place, and to everyone's point, I think we all can agree, nobody knows what they're buying. They've never been explained what this actually does. And so when they're like, yeah, just give me the price. Yeah. And they start to take control over the situation. It's like, I have a license in this. Like there is an education process that we have to go through to be able to even talk about this. So I love that. I want to go to skill for just a second, because one of the skills that I think insurance agents have that I absolutely love is their ability to diffuse a situation. To take a customer who is like gone off the rails, or maybe it's even underwriting and you're just fighting, you're like advocating for your customer. It's a skill that I see all insurance agents have. They can take somebody who is screaming at them and they can calm them down. And I think it's an incredible skill. But I would be curious, Walker, in the 10 months that you've been an insurance agent, what do you think the number one skill is that all insurance agents need to have?
I would say the ability to manage time. That's the different hats that you wear. I mean, just all of the various things that you're going through throughout the day, whether it's, I mean, running payroll, just talking to different lead providers who seemingly call all the time. You're talking to just, I mean, clients, like you said, you're diffusing situations while also trying to meet with clients and, I mean, do things of that nature. Just being able to manage your own time, manage the situation that's going on. It's just such a huge thing, and it really can't be stressed enough how just important it is to be able to just be doing one thing, and then if something else comes up, you can shift and then shift back. It feels like there's always problems and solutions happening throughout the day. And so really going through that and solving everything is just super important.
Have you found a system that works for you?
Yeah. I mean, I think 10 months in, I'm still really trying to iron out a lot of the things that work. I feel like I have a lot of one-day systems that are great, and then the next day I tweak it and make an adjustment. And so, yes and no. I've started to kind of line by line things on the calendar that I know need to be done, whether it be payroll, I mean, calculating commissions and everything else that goes along with that, doing simple IRA contributions, just trying to make sure that it's not that the 14th payroll's on the 15th and it's like, oh my goodness, I haven't gotten that done. So just line by line, trying to really just make sure you're blocking out time on the calendar for all of these specific things. I think it's just easy to forget one thing, and a lot of the time you get lucky and that one thing really wasn't pressing. But occasionally, if you're behind on anything, I mean, payroll being the number one thing, and it comes a day or two late, that's really not I mean, your employees gave you the obligation of showing up to work and doing everything, so not paying them on time is you not fulfilling your obligation to them. So that's probably, I would say I'm still working on it, but line by lining a lot of that, just more of the day-to-day tasks is just been a huge improvement for me.
I love that. Getting it on the calendar, baby. If it's on the calendar, it gets done.
We quit drive-by tasking too. That was the thing we did in the very beginning, where we would drive-by task, where we would be like, okay, I need this. And it got to the point where early on in business, but also in our marriage, it was, if you need something done, you have to email me. And then we would just stack everything in an email. So it's to the point today, if somebody just walks by and says something to Michael, I'm like, nope, you got to email him, because it's a lot to remember, because it happens all day long. So speaking of the topic of time, is there something that you would tell new agents, do not waste your time with this?
I would say, and whether I agree with it or not, I think I've used it, and so it's been fairly successful, is that if somebody can do something 80% as good as you can, pass that along to that person and then move along with it. I think it's hard sometimes in agency, and I mean, my sales leader and I talked about this just a week or two ago, that when people come in, and especially people that just want to work directly with me, a lot of the time I'm the one doing the quoting, and I run through the home quote and everything. And by the time you go back and forth, if they want an endorsement on it or something like that, you get the mortgagee information for the bank, and you end up spending 2 hours on a home quote and an auto quote with somebody. And that's probably not so much what the agent should be doing if you've got multiple full-time salespeople there to and that's their job. I mean, they operate in that system on a day-to-day basis. That's, I mean, I may not quote somebody for a week and a half, 2 weeks on a homeowners, and to expect myself, I mean, I know that I need to be able to do it as well as anybody that's here, but they're just fluent in the system. And so I think sometimes the just passing things along, some of the underwriting things that come in that just don't require me to be involved, that's something that I've really worked hard on and am continuing to work on, because I kind of do the same thing where if it's in the email, if it's in the inbox, then it still has to be completed. That's how I know what has to be done. And so if it stays in the inbox, it has to be completed. And so sometimes you can get kind of caught up in just cleaning that up and trying to make sure that something from 2 weeks ago got done. And so still working to figure out exactly the best way to go about some of those things. That's the constant work in progress of being an agent. But it's getting there, I think, just delegating more and more as people get more comfortable with the systems and everything too, you start to feel better about it. But it's just when it's your own business, when your name's on the door, it's weird to give something that could be a compliance issue or something that if it's not done properly, then who knows when a client is going to come back and want to have a conversation with the person that messed it up, which typically just ends up being you. So that's kind of the ebb and flow of the balance there.
That's good, man. It sounds like you've got your control monster on at least a leash. It took me years to figure that out, and I'm still trying to sometimes I still got to rein that little sucker back in. Control Michael's coming back out.
Yeah, because there has to be a process, and the 80% is a great rule, but there still has to be some kind of process on who is checking that this is done to the standard that needs to be done. As to your point, from a compliance and an E&O standpoint, you want to make sure that we're giving people tasks that they can actually complete, and then we have a system that we can check through what they're doing.
Yeah.
I think.
So I do have a question. So you have a finance background. So what intrigued you enough to move from just helping customers out with their finances and having those financial planning conversations to now we're going to do everything?
So probably a mix. I mean, my dad being an agent for years, I kind of saw what the insurance model looked like. I think it's got renewals are a beautiful thing. I mean, AUM kind of is in the same manner. That's those assets kind of continue to go, and once they get in, I mean, the families historically stay with you and everything else. I think there was a career advancement here as well that kind of came into play. Where I was an investment advisor representative, so worked for an advisor who probably had 10 to 15 years left. That was going to be financially maybe a better decision in the short term. They don't tell you how big of a pay decrease you take whenever you move into being an agent in the first couple of years, but you kind of live with that and move on. So, but I would say that it's just the piece of it that really switched. That's it. It's the truth.
So
You mean you're not making millions of dollars? Right?
They advertise it like it's a great
because,
start.
I mean, you go into agency and you're looking around and you're like, everyone makes more than I do right now.
Yeah.
Everyone. Even my summer intern is making more than I am right now. Yeah. Okay. We're all laughing. We're laughing through the pain. That's what humor's for.
And so I think that the ability to develop relationships was still there, even though it's not quite as in depth just because you're working with more people. And then State Farm gives us the ability to do investment management. And so that was really kind of the kicker that the sales leader that was the final straw where I was like, okay, I can still continue to do what I really enjoy doing. But also I know just how great State Farm has been to my family. My mom also worked in corporate State Farm. Now my wife's in State Farm. My father and I both agents. So at this point, we're pretty good fans of State Farm. Some haven't. State Farm, we're not going to be in great shape. But I would say it's just there's an ability to do so many different things. That's my prior job. We were towards the end as I was talking at the State Farm role. He was like, hey man, we'll just get you an insurance license and you can shop Progressive for the clients and do everything else. And while that sounded fine, I mean, insurance wasn't the main reason why I got into insurance, I would say. It was that I can do both. I can kind of continue to do what I enjoy doing while also just hopefully continuing a great legacy and everything else. It was great that it kind of worked out that way. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities in the industry, but I've been shocked how many differences there are as well.
I love it, man. I mean, I think that's one of the best things about the insurance industry is you kind of have multiple businesses built within a
Yeah.
business. So you have multiple pillars, multiple legs is kind of what I call them, but your PNC, maybe your financial services with like your life insurance, and then you've got your investments. And so I love that it's going to come with its challenges, but it's a ton of fun. And Walker, man, today's been fantastic. This has been really great.
I have one more thing to ask because we've had such great feedback with having agents who are newer into the industry. If you could go back, we're going to get into this hot tub time machine, and we're going to go back 10 months, and you get to tell Walker 10 months ago any piece of advice that's going to make his journey easier over the next 10 months, opening agency, what would you tell him?
Probably one word, and that would be relax. I think it's just so easy to get so caught up in just how fast everything is moving. I Somebody said that, I mean, the time flies as an agent, and I would say that the days are slow sometimes, but you look back and I mean it's the 14th of April, so we're, I mean, 4.5 months into the year. I think that occasionally the days, if it's slow, people aren't calling, things like that. The days can be slow, but it's just you kind of get so caught up in the fact that if you don't produce on a certain day, or if you have a couple people call and cancel, I mean, if somebody comes in and grills you about rate, if there's 50 emails whenever you come in one day and I mean, you work all day and you can't get through them. I think sometimes it's just hard to sit back and go, I got the urgent stuff done today. The sun's going to come up tomorrow, and these are still going to be here. I can go and, I mean, I can knock it out at that point. It's just, it doesn't feel that way in the seat. I mean, you get home sometimes and you're just like, oh my goodness, what a day. And then you wake up the next morning and then it's all back and ready to go for you again. I mean, it's a lot of the time it can be just a repeat. And so not getting super stressed out about some of the little things, I think. And I mean, if you could tell 10-month Walker, if 2 year down the road Walker could tell 10-month Walker something, it's probably just to relax. So it's not like I've gotten any better at it. It's just, it'd be great to hear me say it to me at some point.
It's so good, and it's such great advice because it's always going to be there the next day. Always. So actually, before I conclude this, I just got a curious question. Are you currently using like AI for any type of your business with everything that's going on from an AI standpoint? Are you using it?
We are not really. I think that it's really just finding the time to figure out how some of these things can be introduced into the business itself. There's obviously just a ton of progress being made in so many of these different areas. Sometimes I worry about losing a personal touch with some of these things. I've heard just things over time that some people do with how they don't want to meet clients in a certain area, or they change things to make it to where, I mean, maybe somebody who's used to paying the bill over the phone, that they want to get them set up on auto pay. And I mean, all of these different little things that the 21st century and technology's brought along.
Yeah.
I am not that way. If somebody wants to come in and hand me a $20 bill, it runs the same as a card. If somebody doesn't want to be put on auto pay, or if they want to pay with a check every 6 months, I mean, that's probably where I would say my reservation would be in going to some of those things. But also from an efficiency standpoint, a lot of the time you can't beat it. So it's really finding the balance, and I think it's just that, I mean, there's a lot of the time there's 24 hours of work to do in an 8-hour day, which is why we all take it home every single day. But figuring out how to implement some of these things would be lovely. I feel like I use a lot of would be throughout the day as well. It'd be great if I could get this done. It's just today's not going to be that day. So,
well, again, you're
and
only
where you're at too. You have to
you're only
understand
10
that.
months in, so you're fire hydrants on full blast. I was just curious more than anything, man. So No, this has been fantastic. We appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on today and sharing. I have a ton of notes, and the big thing I have actually that I wrote in capital letters:
Yeah.
relax. So, because that's great
Yeah.
advice. I'm
all
I
of
need to
us.
relax my like. So that's so good, Walker, man. If somebody wanted to maybe follow you on social media, connect with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
LinkedIn probably would be good. We've got an agency Facebook, like I'm sure everybody else does, and then yeah, I would say Facebook probably if you were looking to probably get in touch with anything with agency, and then if anybody's with State Farm, then they know how to get a hold of us. So
Yeah.
yeah, you can find info on me, and if you want to chat, I'm more than happy to sit down. I'm not sure if I've got anything of value, but I'll tell you how I feel.
Tons of value, baby. Tons of value. So,
Yep.
Walker, thank you so much for your time today, man. This has been fantastic. For all of those of you tuning in today, thank you so much, as always, for your time, your support. Time and attention are by far our most important assets, and we appreciate you spending time with us on The Buzz. As always, go out and make it great. Walker, thanks again, my man.
Go Tigers.
Go Tigers, MIZ.
ZOU, baby.